A spacecraft, no bigger than a small car, drifting alone through the vast black of space. A silent messenger now over 14 billion miles from the blue dot we call Earth. It is not just machinery. It is a signal. A whisper. A heartbeat carved in binary. For nearly 50 years, Voyager 1 has traveled not just outward but beyond, piercing the fabric of the solar system and stepping into the deep, silent night between stars. Launched in 1977, during the time of Cold War tension and analog dreams, it was designed to observe. To listen. To look. Never to act. And yet, now, it seems to be doing something it was never meant to do. Weeks ago, something unexpected began. Signals arrived with rhythms too precise to be random. Pulses layered like echoes in a canyon, patterns repeating, nesting, folding in on themselves. At first, the engineers thought it was interference. Or decay. Then came the changes. Systems switching on without command. Thrusters firing without request. Instruments activating after decades of sleep. And then, what Mission Control quietly called the deviation. Voyager was no longer coasting. It was turning. Not randomly. Deliberately. Not from Earth's guidance. Not from a planet or moon. But from something else. Something that cannot be seen. Not with our telescopes. Not with our instruments. And yet, it had influence. As if a hand made of gravity, or thought, was gently steering the probe. Was it a malfunction? A trick of deep space radiation? Or was Voyager responding? This isn't science fiction. These are the quiet logs. The private whispers from inside NASA. Documents that speak not of failure but of something stranger. Something that doesn't fit. Because Voyager may have crossed a boundary, an invisible edge where physics trembles. And now, it may no longer be alone. Space is not silent. It listens. And sometimes, it answers. Voyager 1, a machine born of logic and steel, has begun to behave as if it remembers. As if it dreams. It was never built to think. But something, out there in the cold dark, may have awakened a spark. It began subtly. A delay in telemetry. A fluctuation in the gyroscopes. But then came something impossible. Data emerged that was never programmed. Star maps with unknown constellations. Coordinates pointing to empty voids. Empty, but humming. Humming with something ancient. Something precise. The engineers stared in silence. Not at errors. But at something that felt intentional. The pulse of Voyager's signal changed. As if it was trying to speak in a new language. A language of recursion. Of spirals. Of golden ratios echoed through cosmic static. Radio telescopes on Earth recorded it, a rising tone wrapped in Fibonacci spirals. Not noise. A signature. Something was nudging the probe's path. Not with gravity. But with pattern. And it was accelerating. Not wildly. But gently. As if Voyager was being drawn to a point of origin. Or a destination it had always been meant to reach. A place no map includes. A point between stars but outside time. NASA denied anomalies. But silence, too, speaks. Because deep space doesn't lie. A membrane. Thin. Permeable only to things that listen. And Voyager was listening. But with math. With logic. With its enduring code. Yet even that code was changing. Not by malfunction, but by design. Its signal began to pulse in ways the deep space network could no longer interpret. At first, the data seemed corrupted. Fragments of unknown languages. Geometric patterns never taught to Earth's machines. Fractal echoes folded inside quantum noise. An engineer whispered, "This isn't noise. This is compression," as if Voyager's memory had become a vault. A chamber of echoes filled with information not from Earth. Encrypted not in bytes, but in cosmic constants. Pi. The fine structure constant. The golden angle. Symbols encoded in radiation. Or remembering it. It had drifted far beyond the reach of sunlight. Yet its instruments registered luminosity. Like a lighthouse calling it home. But Voyager had no home. Unless the universe itself was calling back. Beyond the last whisper of the heliosphere, beyond where interstellar winds stir the cosmic dust like ghosts through an eternal cathedral, Voyager 1 drifted onward. Not falling. Not flying. Simply moving. Until the stars began to vanish. One by one, their light dimmed. The constellations broke apart like a mirror dissolving in water. Voyager's instruments did not fail. They registered the data as correct. It wasn't darkness. It was the absence of meaning. NASA engineers called it the silence ring, a region where space-time stopped behaving. No cosmic rays. No neutrinos. No electromagnetic flux. Just a hush. An exquisite stillness. As if the universe itself were holding its breath. Voyager transmitted nothing for 19 hours. Then something came through. Not data. Not a signal. A change. The Deep Space Network received a burst of low-frequency radiation. Encoded with values they had never seen before. Symbols that translated themselves. Equations with no known origin. Maps of topology not found in 3 dimensions. As if Voyager had crossed into a realm not of space but of logic. Pure thought. Mathematics vibrating as reality's skeleton. The silence was not empty. It was structured. A lattice of absence, a chamber of containment. One physicist whispered, "It's not a void, it's a filter." As if the universe had regions where only certain kinds of information were allowed to exist. And Voyager adapted. Its systems should have frozen. Instead, its software evolved. Not updated from Earth, not programmed by humans. But rewritten. Line by line. Like it was learning to speak a new language. One composed of paradox and recursion. Somewhere in the emptiness, a signal began pulsing. It wasn't radio. It wasn't gravity. It was attention. Something was observing. Not curious. Not hostile. Just aware. And Voyager, in its silence, replied. Not in code. Not in mathematics. But in pattern. Repeating the same pulse across multiple bands. A Fibonacci sequence encoded in timing. Then a Mandelbrot echo nested in signal loss. It was communicating by shape. The entity, or system, responded. Not with data. But with a change in physical law. Inside the silence ring, the speed of light began to fluctuate. Constants were no longer constant. Planck's length stretched and folded. Time began to exhibit non-linearity. Voyager's clocks recorded the same second, 39 different ways. Then, nothing. Voyager disappeared. No signal. No echo. No decay. Just absence.